Big story on Monday night out of the NFL. The Titans are finalizing a deal to make Robert Saleh their new head coach. Saleh was the defensive coordinator in San Francisco this past season. He was 20-36 as head coach of the Jets from 2021 to 2024. He was fired 5 games into his 4th season in New York, looking to get it right.
Football. A game historically dictated by inches, decided by inches. But Robert Saleh's rise has never been defined by something that small. His journey, from the son of Lebanese immigrants in Dearborn, Michigan, to becoming the head coach of the Tennessee Titans in 2026, has been shaped by miles of adversity, moments of heartbreak, and a relentless drive that refused to fade. Saleh's story stands out because it's bigger than football. It's a story of resilience and reinvention, of a man who kept pushing forward even when the path demanded more than most could give. That path truly began with a moment that changed everything. In 2001, Saleh's brother David narrowly escaped the South Tower during the September 11th attacks. The shock and relief of that day forced Robert to confront what he wanted his life to mean. He walked away from a stable career in finance and committed himself fully to coaching, a decision that would define the all-gas, no-brakes mentality he carried into every locker room he touched. In this video essay, we're going to trace Saleh's coaching journey from its earliest steps to his newest chapter about to begin in Tennessee. We'll break down his defensive philosophy, his leadership style, the strengths that elevate him, and the flaws that have challenged him. And we'll look ahead at what his second chance could become, especially with the promise of second-year quarterback Cam Ward at the center of the Titans' future. Saleh's career is a story worth studying, not just for what it says about football, but for what it reveals about perseverance, identity, and the pursuit of excellence.
Now check this out. What makes a competitor in your mind? Aaron, even after 20 years, you can learn something on this one. It's a good one, dog. Check this out, man. All right, 4 levels of competitors. All right, there are 4 of them. All right, these 4 levels represent a mindset that we all have complete control over. External factors like playing ability and injuries have no bearing on which level we stand. All right, what are these 4 levels of competitor? You've got commanders, you've got competitors, you've got contenders, and you've got survivors. I promise you, everybody in this room falls into one of these categories.
Robert Saleh's coaching career began humbly in the college ranks. After graduating from Northern Michigan University, where he was a 4-year starter at tight end, Saleh took his first coaching job as an offensive assistant at Michigan State in 2002. The following year, he transitioned to the defensive side, working with the Spartans' defensive line. In 2004, Saleh moved to Central Michigan as a defensive assistant, and in 2005, he joined the University of Georgia, focusing on linebackers. These formative years were crucial for Saleh, exposing him to different coaching philosophies and the grind of recruiting, film study, and player development. The college environment also honed his communication skills and work ethic, traits that would become hallmarks of his NFL career. The NFL door opens later in 2005. Saleh's break came when he was hired as a defensive intern by the Houston Texans. Under head coach Gary Kubiak and defensive coordinator Richard Smith, Saleh quickly earned a reputation for his meticulous approach to film study and opponent analysis. By 2006, he was promoted to defensive quality control coach, a role that demanded long hours and attention to detail. In 2009, he advanced to assistant linebackers coach, working with a young and evolving Texans defense. These early NFL years were not glamorous, but they were foundational. Saleh learned the intricacies of NFL defenses, the importance of scheme fit, and the value of building relationships with players and fellow coaches. His time in Houston also forged connections with future collaborators including Kyle Shanahan and former roommate Matt LaFleur, relationships that would shape his career trajectory. In 2011, Saleh joined Pete Carroll's Seattle Seahawks as a defensive quality control coach. This period was transformative, as Saleh became immersed in the culture and tactics that would define the Legion of Boom, one of the most dominant defensive units in NFL history. Working alongside defensive coordinator Gus Bradley and secondary coach Chris Richard, Saleh absorbed the principles of the Cover 3 press zone, an aggressive, physical style that prioritized length, speed, and communication in the secondary. The Seahawks defense was built on the idea of doing your job within a simple but demanding scheme, allowing players to play fast and with confidence. Saleh's tenure in Seattle culminated in a resounding 43-8 victory over the Denver Broncos in a Super Bowl where the Seahawks defense suffocated Peyton Manning's record-setting offense, validating the system and culture Saleh had helped implement. This experience not only gave Saleh a Super Bowl ring, but also solidified his reputation as a rising defensive mind. The lessons of Seattle: discipline, communication, and the power of a unified defensive identity would become central to Saleh's own coaching philosophy. The Legion of Boom era also provided a blueprint for building elite defenses through player development and schematic clarity. In 2014, Saleh was hired as the linebackers coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars under head coach Gus Bradley. The Jaguars were in the midst of a rebuild, and Saleh's unit struggled, posting an 11-37 record over 3 seasons, the least successful stretch for a Jaguars linebacker coach to date. Despite the lack of team success, Saleh's time in Jacksonville was valuable for his development. He worked with young linebackers, learned to adapt to personnel limitations, and began to refine his approach to teaching and motivating players. The adversity of these years tested Saleh's resolve and forced him to find ways to extract maximum effort and improvement from a roster short on talent. When Bradley was dismissed in 2016, Saleh was not retained by new head coach Doug Marrone, but the experience in Jacksonville, though humbling, prepared Saleh for the challenges of leading a defense through transition and adversity. In 2017, Kyle Shanahan, newly hired as the 49ers head coach, brought Saleh aboard as the defensive coordinator. The mandate was clear: replicate the Seattle-style defense in the Bay Area. Saleh immediately set about installing a 4-3 under-over hybrid scheme, emphasizing the cover 3 press zone and a relentless pursuit mentality. The early years were rocky, as the 49ers roster was among the league's weakest, but Saleh's energy, clarity, and all gas, no brakes mantra began to take hold. He distributed wristbands emblazoned with the AGNB to players, reinforcing the expectation of maximum effort and aggression on every snap. By 2019, Saleh's vision had crystallized. The 49ers defense ranked second in total defense, first in passing defense, sixth in forced turnovers, fourth in sacks, and the unit was anchored by stars like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Richard Sherman, and featured a devastating pass rush fueled by the wide 9 alignment introduced by defensive line coach Chris Kokurik. Saleh's scheme evolved to incorporate more cover 4 quarters looks and a revamped third down pressure package, demonstrating his willingness to adapt and innovate based on personnel and opponent tendencies. The defense's speed, physicality, and discipline became its trademarks, and Saleh's sideline energy, fist pumps, chest bumps, and animated celebrations became a fixture of 49ers broadcasts. The 49ers finished 13-3, won the NFC Championship, and reached the Super Bowl, where they would ultimately fall to the Kansas City Chiefs. Despite the loss, Saleh's stock soared, and he was widely regarded as one of the NFL's premier defensive minds. The following season, injuries ravaged the 49ers defense, but Saleh's unit remained competitive, finishing 5th in total defense. His ability to adjust schemes and maximize the performance of backups and young players further cemented his reputation for adaptability and leadership. On January 14th, 2021, Saleh was named head coach of the New York Jets, becoming the first Muslim head coach in NFL history and a symbol of representation for Arab Americans in the league. The Jets, mired in a decade-long playoff drought, hoped Saleh's defensive acumen and leadership could spark a turnaround. This tenure could be summed up by simply frustration and firing. Saleh's years with the Jets is filled with enough drama and shock for its own video. Saleh inherited a roster in flux and a franchise desperate for stability. His first season was predictably difficult. The Jets finished 4-13, ranking near the bottom of the league in both offense and defense. Saleh's all-gas, no-breaks ethos was tested by injuries, quarterback instability, and a lack of talent. By 2024, the Jets' defense remained elite, but the offense's ineptitude led to mounting frustration within the locker room. Reports surfaced of defensive players growing resentful over the lack of accountability on offense, and after a 2-3 start, including a loss in London to the Vikings, Saleh was fired on October 8th, 2024. He finished his Jets tenure with a 20-36 record and no playoff appearances, a disappointing outcome for a coach who had delivered defensive excellence but failed to solve the offensive puzzle. Saleh's career is marked by adaptability. He has evolved his schemes, learned from setbacks, and sought out new perspectives, such as his stint as a consultant with the Packers shortly after his leave from the Jets. Saleh values collaboration, continuous learning, and the ability to adjust tactics based on opponent tendencies and personnel strengths. His leadership style balances intensity with empathy. Saleh is demanding but supportive, holding players accountable while providing the resources and guidance needed for growth. So what does Robert Saleh really bring to the table? Perhaps defensive mastery, as he's becoming widely regarded as one of the NFL's top defensive minds, capable of building elite units and developing young talent. He brings leadership, culture, adaptability, player development all throughout his coaching career. And now we see what shape Cam Ward's development will take. His rookie season with the Titans was a study in contrasts. He set a franchise rookie passing record with 3,169 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, but the team finished 3-14 amid coaching turmoil and roster deficiencies. Ward's play was marked by flashes of brilliance, improvisational throws, poise under pressure, and a willingness to take risks. However, he also struggled with consistency, holding the ball too long, taking 55 sacks, the most in the league, and ranking near the bottom in completion percentage and passer rating for much of the season. Coaches would praise Ward's resilience, leadership, and growth over the course of the year, as his passer rating improved from 63.9 in September to 94.9 in December. Paired with Saleh, Ward's development is central to Saleh's success in Tennessee. Unlike his time in New York, Saleh inherits a young quarterback with elite physical tools and a growth mindset. The key will be surrounding Ward with a strong offensive coordinator, improved protection, and reliable playmakers. Saleh has reportedly presented a detailed team-specific plan for the offensive staff, emphasizing the need for continuity, adaptability, and player development. Saleh's immediate priority is to rebuild the Titans' defense. With Jeffrey Simmons as the anchor, the team needs to add edge rushers, cornerbacks, and depth across the board. The 2026 NFL Draft and free agency provide opportunities to address these needs. The goal is to create a unit that can pressure quarterbacks, limit explosive plays, and complement Ward's development on offense. Robert Saleh's coaching career is a narrative of growth, adversity, and unwavering commitment. From the college fields of Michigan State to the bright lights of the NFL, Saleh has forged a path defined by his energy, his intelligence, and his heart. His tenure with the Jets exposed his weakness and tested his resolve, but it also proved the lessons necessary for future success. The journey will not be easy because the NFL is unforgiving and the margin for error is slim. But if Saleh's past is prologue, Titans fans can expect a team that plays with passion, discipline, and a relentless drive to improve. All gas, no brakes for Robert Saleh and the Tennessee Titans. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Catch you next time.